Well, obviously very disappointed in the results. I've never, through these 12 games, ever questioned the heart, the desire, the fight, the faith, the belief that these guys have had. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough to will us through where we were today. It was the first game of the year, the last game of the year here. That nothing has ever changed. What we try to preach to these guys, that more games are lost than won, and unfortunately, we did enough things today to cause us defeat. Give credit to Northwestern; they're obviously able to achieve a win, but to give up 24 points out of on turnovers, you just never going to win games like that. Never. So extremely frustrating. A lot of guys stepped up. We were really thin in the back end, and then Taz had practiced all week, and obviously wasn't able to go out there today. He tried on the front end, and then to lose Xavier Scott really thinned up that room in a hurry, and that was something they continue to come back and attack, and we're just. The good news is, right, we can go out and recruit and have an opportunity for some of these younger players to get better. The flip side of it is we're just running real thin at times there in the back end. But guys showed resiliency offensively. Casey Washington was, just incredible today. He's just a microcosm today of what I've seen all year. Just a really good competitive spirit, and even down to that last touchdown. And I think the 2-point play, it's just complete bullshit on the call. The guy held him. I was trying to get him to say, I thought they called defensive holding, and if they call defensive holding, tip doesn't matter. But that's just one play, but it sucks that the season comes down to that, right? So very frustrating. And if there is one word, I know I'm going to get this a lot, right? What's the 2020-23 season? And it's just extremely frustrating in so many different levels that we've dealt with through 12 games. So unfortunately, a lot of analysis ahead of us. Have an extremely challenging next 3 or 4 days. Going to have a lot of conversations with guys that are on our program, guys that will be moving on from our program, guys that have played their last game and we've known it, but other guys that we have conversations with to see where we can go. So I know where we are 3 years from where we got here. And how much growth we've had, but it obviously didn't put us in postseason play, which is everything. So I'm frustrated, but it's not lost on a lot of good young players that got better, a lot of old players that put in a lot of good work, effort, and time to help us change this environment, and hopefully going to get us on a track to move forward in the future. But sorry, disappointed. I thought there was a good crowd out there today. For those that showed up, I appreciate it. You were there till the end. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get it. So. With that, open up the question. Injury-wise, I really don't know anything about anything other than Xavier will have an MRI tomorrow. Keith re-aggravated his ankle injury that was there. Taz had a pre-existing injury from last week that he practiced all this week, but obviously wasn't able to go today.
Bret, when you have that frustrating year, some execution errors, how do you as a staff evaluate your staff, yourself, and all those things?
Yeah, obviously it starts with head coach evaluation, right? Like I really got to sit back and this week by NCAA rules we can't go out until Friday, so it really does build in a nice little window of time here. For me as a head coach to evaluate what I can do better and how I can evaluate and make our staff better, and then that gets into roster evaluation, really find out what you're working with. There's really usually a group of, back in when I started 15 years ago as a head coach, you kind of knew the lay of the land, who was coming back, who wasn't coming back. But today's world with portal and grad transfers and COVID still's got 2 years of working through, right? There's a lot of uncertainty with your roster, we had 3 official visitors on there today. The flip side of what today bring is I think you could sit and watch us and say, hey, these guys need some help in certain positions, and in a weird sort of way, that's a positive for your program.
Just defensively, what do you feel like were the biggest shortcomings for you guys
Today?
Yeah. And then I guess even big picture.
Yeah, I think without today, just ball security, right? They scored 24 points off of, I believe, 1 turnover, 1 interception. Then that last interception where they turned over the ball in the red area, those completed for 10 points, if I'm not mistaken. And then off of special teams, they got 14 points. Obviously, the punt return that was muffed, and then the kickoff return that ball is like inexcusable. We got to do a better job when we're in traffic. I think we can definitely shore up the essence of the idea of how much more we got to be secure with the football.
I guess defensively though, like, are there any common threads that you saw pop up week over week that were bigger concerns?
Yeah, well, again, I think our defense is based off of basically two coverages. We play a lot of man and a lot of variations of two, and it's no surprise we've been through 3 years of this now, so we got to adapt and mold and adjust to what we do and what we don't do well. Our defensive personnel changed greatly last year from this year, and this year will change again from this year to next year. So there's got to be a natural evolution there. I think, in particular, from us, first-year coordinator with Aaron and the staff working with that, I think there's a lot of growth that'll be had in the out of season and evaluation of it. Obviously, on offense, Barry's been through 2 years of this. I know that Luke was playing some pretty good football before he got knocked out of there. So the growth and evolution of him, but also, if I had everything back, I probably would have taken 2 or 3 more. We just got extremely thin on the offensive line early in the year, and we got to keep in mind that I think you're always going to need 12 players entering the year that you feel like you can play good football with. For sure, 7 to 8 starters that you just got to feel good that they're going to be able to play the majority of the snaps and feel comfortable in the O-line. And I just know I don't think we were quite there yet to start the year, and we got to get there.
Coach, coming off the year you had last year, not making the postseason this year, tell me what that you had.
Well, it's extremely frustrating. I thought we had a lot of good players that deserved an opportunity to play another game, and obviously for you, for the fan base, and everything else, postseason play is something that we want to be more of the norm, right, than the exception. And I know Johnny said last week on Tuesday, or whenever he got interviewed, that he wouldn't be going in postseason play. Well, that's been going on in college football for 10 years. It's just new to Illinois, right? And last year we saw it for the first time, so that's why there's probably such a reaction. But I think we were, like I said, 5-3 in one-score games in those 3 games. If you look at Wisconsin, Iowa, and this one are games that we just have to find a way to win those games, right? Like win the 5 that we won, but we got to win these 3 that are winnable and do a better job in the close and just be cleaner with the football, execute in prime moments, and really literally get down to I lost a Rose Bowl because we couldn't execute a 2-point play, and in reality, I think here at the end of the year today, right, we convert that last 2-point play, and I have a really strong feeling we go into overtime, something good would have happened. So it gets down to those one specific moments in time, and we got to be able to achieve or fail.
Brett, did I hear you correctly on the radio that you were thinking about making the swap at quarterback and then you didn't, but it seemed like John really
Yeah, well, there was actually a play where John, I thought he was dinged. There was a play that the ball got snapped and he tried to go forward, and then right after that things didn't go well. So I just want to make sure. Had a doctor check him out. I don't think there's anything there, but sometimes you just feel like you want to help someone in a moment, right? Get it out, and but John's just a great competitor, and I didn't want to. He did then make a couple nice throws and do some things. So never really came to a point where we made any decision to try and do it, but it was definitely in the back of my mind.
I think this season you've had maybe several weekends where you fired off a list of plays to the Big Ten to get maybe explanations for. Have you done that more this year than in previous seasons?
No, I would say there's always like
the type of play.
Yeah, like for me, it's educational, right? Like I want to know if I messed up on what I think should have been called, and I want to know how I can move myself and be better. And quite often or not, like we had a side judge here out today that, last week in the first series, we had a DPI that was called, and then they waved it off because of this side judge that we had today. And I went up to him before the game and I said, hey, what'd you learn, right? Because I want to learn from these moments as well, right? And I think that's the part of the thing. Like I don't think anybody deliberately throws a flag or doesn't throw a flag. But today, we failed to execute a 2-point play because Casey was getting taken to the ground before the ball was even thrown. So that affects the game. Like I know for me, like we're on this rules committee and all this stuff, like these things can be avoided. Like just go look at that. Like that's a game-changing play. To me, they should take that upstairs. I think it was just an incorrect. I think the ref saw, or whoever saw it, he saw there was a DPI, but I think he was thinking it was the hold and then the tip ball. Well, if it's a defense hold, the tip doesn't happen. You can easily see it on replay. I saw it in the locker room, and I saw it here that's the incorrect call. And unfortunately, we got to end our season, but the positive side is hopefully that can be corrected in the future.
Coach, their last drive
One more
before
after this.
halftime, did you do anything differently schematic wise on
The
defense?
very last drive, the
Their-
one they scored on?
Yes.
Yeah. Obviously, we scored on the DPI, on our defensive interception, and got it back. I think with the first 3 snaps, we had a personnel grouping out there that I don't know if it was exactly what we wanted to have, right? And then they got themselves down there on the 20-yard line, and we didn't have we had 1 timeout, but I believe we had 1 timeout. I couldn't sub in the personnel grouping, so again, I think it's just part of growth right there. We had, I believe, 5 end of halves this year that ended in touchdowns or 3-point plays, and some of those games we won, some of them we lost. Obviously today we ended up losing it, and that was 7 points right there. That in conjunction with, if you just do the math, right, that's 7 points there, 24 points off turnovers, that's 31 to 45 points, like in a game that's scored by 1. It's just extremely frustrating, but one that I think we can change.
Brett, I'm sorry, but
Yes,
early in the game when it was the intentional grounding that wasn't flagged, were you
Correct.
initially told that wasn't reviewable? Or
I knew it wasn't
'cause I thought
reviewable.
you used a timeout.
I
and
used a
they said
timeout
you
because
didn't.
the guy on my sideline told me something that I think if he told the white hat, he would have changed the call.
Okay.
They said there was a receiver in the area, but I'm like, I know there's a receiver in the area. I saw the play, right? I know the play they ran, so
Right.
I was just trying to get them to talk. I always just say, like, it literally gets down to this, right? Communication is the key to success, and it's also usually one of the biggest reasons for failure. And there are so many times where I want people to talk, because if they talk, they would be able to communicate what they both said to me, and then they'll change their call, right? And there's been so many things like that. It's just like, I get it. We got to be better and got to be able to overcome it. But those are huge moments, right? Like that 2-point play is like it's our season is done or it's moving forward, right? And extremely frustrating. Guys put in a bunch of hours, man, to have your season like come down to something where they could just talk to one another. I mean, it's already been. Anybody go watch the play, it's like it's real. Like, and now we stay home, right? So we got to be better to overcome those moments.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.